So we have been discussing the meanings of the Lalita Sahasranama so far. 124 is where we have to resume. Adi Shaktihi Ameyatma. She is the primordial energy, the primal force which drove the universe into creation, which shall dissolve it later on, and which is sustaining it. Adi Shaktihi Ameyatma, one which cannot be measured is Ameya. Ameyatma is whose true essence, whose true aspect is immeasurable. Ameyatma. Parama, the supreme. Pavana Kritihi, the Akriti, the Akara, the form of Lalita is Pavana. It is purifying. It is sanctifying. Pavana Kritihi. Why is it so? So the rishis have thought or pictured the yoginis and the rishis, the Vagdevatas, they have pictured her form, or at least she has appeared to them in their heart of hearts in the form which brings joy, which emanates bliss, and which drives out suffering. So, Pavana purifying is in the sense that it purifies us of our sufferings. Pavana Kritihi. That is why so much emphasis is laid, be it in the Lalita Sahasranama or the Saundarya Lahari or any other text in general, to the physical the form of the Devi. Aneka Koti Brahmanda Janani Divya Vigraha. She is the Janani, the mother of Aneka Koti Brahmanda, not just this one singular universe, but there have been and there shall be and there are already parallelly existing Koti Brahmanda. There are more than a crore universes parallelly existing in all different forms, in different consequences, different coincidences, and so on, different timelines. So, and maybe with different creatures, different sorts of elements, all possibilities exist, and she is the Janani of all such possibilities. Divya Vigraha, she has a very divine Pavanakriti and Divya Vigraha. Her body is both purifying as well as divine. Kari Kevala Guhya Kaivalya Padadayini. Her, the syllable, the Bijakshara of Devi, first is Hrim, her most intimate Bijakshara, and secondly is Kleem, which is the Bijakshara for Kali and also for Krishna. Kleem. In the Sudarshana mantra, it says, Om Kleem Krishnaya Govindaya Gopijana Vallabhaya Paraya Paramaya Paramapurushatmane, and so on. So, Kleem is for both Krishna as well as Kali. Kleem Kari, she is the form of that Bijakshara Kleem. Kevala, she is alone, she is single, she is the only entity which exists in the universe, Kevala. So, she is not different from the universe because she is Kevala. There is only one thing. Guhya. Guhya is she who is hidden. Guhya, she is hidden from what? She is hidden from the usual perception of all creatures. She is a very subtle phenomenon, and it is up to our minds to try and attempt to reach or understand or comprehend her. But ultimately, she says she is Vacham Agochara. She is beyond words, beyond expressions, beyond language, and beyond the grasp of the mind too. But still, it is worth trying. Kaivalya Pada Dayini. She is the Dayini, the giver of the Kaivalya Pada, giving us the state of Kaivalya, of uh, absolute solitude. Kaivalya means absolute solitude. Tripura, like we had discussed, she has the Vyahritis, Bhur, Bhuvas, Suvaha, material, supernatural, and the metaphysical or the divine realms. She is all these three so-called realms, cities. Pura here doesn't literally mean just a village. It's three realms. Trijagad Vandya. And therefore, not only is she comprising the three realms, but she is also worshipped through these three realms. Trijagad Vandya, Trimurtihi, the three, the triad gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, she is. Tridasheshwari. Tridasha is the gods, the lower gods, such as Indra, Varuna, Agni, Yama, Nirriti, uh, Mitra, Soma, and others. So these are called Tridashas. Tridasha Ishwari, the queen ruling over, reigning over all the gods. Triakshari, she has three syllables. What are those three? A, U, and M. That is why, very coincidentally, or in fact, I would say craftfully, the other name of Lalita or Gauri is what? Uma. U-M-A. U-M-A. Again, it's a reshuffled form of A-U-M, which is Om. So Om itself is Uma. She is the Triakshari. In fact, even in the Kena Upanishad, towards the end, there is a story where um, Indra and the gods are being tested to by a certain yaksha who comes and holds a blade of grass in front of them and asks them to dry it with the air and or burn it with fire or cause death unto it by the power of decay and so on and so forth. So all the gods test with their um, fullest of abilities, but to no avail. Finally, when Indra comes and admits defeat, there is no longer this Yaksha, and in that place stands Uma, who says it is the very famous um proverb, or I would say the phrase, which is even a blade of grass does not move if he doesn't will it. Here he refers to that Yaksha or that supreme god, or we can call it as Brahman, or in this case Lalita or whatever. When that doesn't allow or doesn't will even a blade of grass, despite it being threatened and faced and tortured by the forces of elements, the forces of even gods, it will remain still. So there, the word Uma first comes in the Upanishad, Uma, and she appears as a Devi, signaling to another this yaksha, and then when he asks who is this yaksha, she says this is none other than that supreme being uh, from which all the life energies, all the universe exists through his will alone. Uma. So you see again in the very next shloka we have the word Uma. She's Trekshari and Divya Gandhadhya. Divya Gandha Adhya. She is made or she applies or smears Divya Gandha, divine, good, sweet smelling sandalwood. Sindura Tilakanchita, and then she also wears the Sindura, the Kunkuma, the vermilion on her head, on her forehead, and between her mats. Sindura Tilakanchita. Uma, she is Uma. Shailendra Tanaya, the daughter of the Shailendra of Himalayas. Gauri, she is also called as Gauri because she was born and she is of a fair complexion. She was born white. And Gauri, Gandharva Sevita, she is served by all the Gandharvas. The Gandharvas, who are these? They are a class of devatas who play divine music. They are the musicians in the court of Indra. Gandharva. Vishwagarbha Swarnagarbha Varada Vagadhishwari. She has the womb which carries the Vishwa as its Garbha. as the fetus. The entire world itself is the fetus inside her womb. Swarna Garbha, and her womb is Swarna. And why is it Swarna? Because if you remember, Hiranya Garbha is the first being which was created even before the universe began. So that Hiranyagarbha literally means a golden fetus or a golden egg, which sits in her womb. That's why her name is also called Swarna Garbha Varada. She gives varas. Here they have mistakenly given an avagraha chinha. It is not avarada, it is varada. She gives boons. Vag Adhishwari, the ruler of speech and expressions. Vak Adhishwari. Because she is all the four kinds of vak. What are they? Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikhari. Para is that divine intuition or the spontaneous uh, impulse which comes behind our brains and behind our mind. Then the mind or the buddhi considers it. In that state is called Pashyanti. And then the signal is traveling through the body, that is called Madhyama. And then that signal materializes as either sound from the voice box or as movement of the hands, legs, expressions of the face, muscles, etc. So that is called the Vaikhari. She is Vag Adhishwari. Therefore, even of people who are not able to get this final speech, who are in the material sense dumb, they cannot speak properly, they still have speech in the sense their signals are intact, their brains are functioning and considering thoughts, and there is a spring of thoughts from some unknown source. That is, these are the three vaks which are still alive in them. Dhyana gamya aparichedya, and that is why also it is said that the yogis or avatars or devi in this case, they, because they have mastered the concept of all expressions, they know how the energies are flowing in the body and how the pranas which control the expressions flow, and they can meddle with it. For example, Sri Krishna himself, in one of his stories, he gave speech to uh, a dumb person. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yatkripa tamaham vande paramananda madhavam. So similarly, there have been so many miracles performed by sages, yoginis, and in this case Lalita as well, because she is the Vagadhishwari. Even till date, it is believed in Sringeri, if you do Aksharabhyasa, the education will be unobstructed. Vag Adhishwari, Dhyanagamya, she can be approached or understood through dhyana, through silent contemplation. Aparichedya, she is uncut. In what sense? Parichedya means that which can be cut. Aparichedya, that which cannot be cut. नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापो न शोषयति मारुतः अच्छेद्योऽयम् अग्र अदाह्योऽयम् अक्लेद्यो शोष्य एव च नित्यः सर्वगतस्थाणुरचलोऽयं सनातनः. So Sri Krishna is talking of an entity which cannot be burnt by fire, nor can it be wetted or drowned in water, nor can it be dried or carried away by the wind, which cannot be cut by any weapons, and if you by further extension we can also say which cannot be harmed by any instruments, any pain inducing phenomena, either mental or physical. So there is no concept of pain or suffering at all for such an entity, and that is the very thing which is Lalita aparichedya, that which cannot be touched even. That is why they say this is the greatest treasure, because it can, once you find this, no amount of suffering, no agony, no turmoils of life will ever snatch this away from us. So that final wisdom, Atma Vidya, cannot be stolen nor can it be harmed. So aparichedya jnanada, and she gives such wisdom. Jnana vigraha. She is not just of a physical form, but she has also a wisdom form. Jnana vigraha, conscious form. Sarva Vedanta Samvedya Satyananda Swarupini. She is understood well, Samvedya, by Sarva Vedanta, by all the Upanishads put together. Whatever the conclusion, so if you put all of them into a grinder and you grind them all up together, you filter it out, and that one or two drops of ultimate wisdom which comes is verily indicating the bliss of Lalita. Sarva Vedanta Samvedya Satya Ananda Swarupini. And what is she? She is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Satya, she is existence. And here the word says Satya Ananda, and it is Ananda, which is unlimitedness. Ananda is very similar to Ananta, which does not have any limitations, unceasing. Why they hesitate, the Upanishads sometimes hesitate to use the word Ananda in the definition of Brahma is not known to me, but I can only hypothesize and say, I can only speculate and say it is because Ananda can be often mistaken as pleasure. Right? When I say the bliss of Lalita, we think, okay, so it may be very similar to the happiness times 100, times 10,000, times 1 lakh. But though the Upanishad, like I said in Brahmananda Valli, itself talks of such hierarchies, the true tattva, which is even behind the Anandamaya Kosha, is something very remote and afar from what we understand as pleasures or the absence of it, which is called pain. So that is something very different. Perhaps that's also the reason why they seldom, they often try to avoid the word Ananda. However, in the later texts, it's very clearly and explicitly called Ananda itself. That supreme thing is called Ananda, Satya Ananda Swarupini. So there, Ananda is not a positive state of happiness. That is what we experience as a state when desires are fulfilled, or when there is a contact with this Vishayendriya Sanyogad Yattadagre Mritopamam Pariname Vishamiva Tatsukham Rajasamsmritam. So such joys, such ideas of happiness which are bound by objects or the lack thereof are said to be Rajasic, or sometimes Tamasic joys, Tamasic Sukha, whereas Atma Buddhi Grahyam, that which can only be understood by the subtlest form of the mind, or when it is reflected in a very clean mind, is the state of being in a Sattvika Sukha. That is somewhat like Ananda. Satya Ananda Swarupini. She is such a refined, subtle Sattvika Ananda. Lopa Mudrarchita. She was worshipped and is worshipped by Lopa Mudra, the consort, the wife of Agastya. And it is a sad thing that many people don't know about Lopamudra, and that is why I have to say she was the wife of Agastya, because Agastya is more popularly known. But Lopamudra was a very intense human being in her own right. Uh, she was able to parallel, in fact, even beat Agastya in many of his vadas, and she later came to be known as the Kaveri. She transformed her physical form into that of Apis, and she started flowing in this land to always be with her husband out of love, Agastya, because he said, no, no, I have a lot of mission to accomplish, a great many tasks to be accomplished, and I'm on a mission to bring spirituality to the Dakshina Disha. And so he said, I will be traveling. So then she says, okay, then I cannot be left alone at home because I am very deeply in love with you. Therefore, I'll transform as the water so that I can ever be in your company and we can ever keep exchanging uh, intimacy. So that's how she became the river. Leela Klipta Brahmanda Mandala. The entire mandala, the sequence or string, an entire necklaces of Brahmandas were Klipta. They got created just out of her sport, as a sport. Leela. Leela Klipta Brahmanda Mandala. Just imagine, out of the desire to just play with some toys, she just, with a blink of her eyes, created entire sequences of universes themselves, multiverses. Adrishya Drishya Rahita Vijnatri Vedya Varjita. She cannot be seen. And not literally just by the physical eyes. Of course, that is also, I mean, there are so many things in the world which are adrishya in that sense. But drishya refers to that which cannot be comprehended, or there is no input or information which can be gained through any of the sense organs, be it through actual physical sight, hearing, smelling, touching, tasting, or comprehending through logic, inferences, similes. None of these pramanas work uh, before her. Adrishya, Drishya Rahita, Yattar Adreshyam, Agrahyam, Agotram, Avarnam, Achakshushrothram, Tadapani Padam, Nityam Vibhum, Sarvagatam Susushman, Tadavyam Yad Bhutayonim, Paripashyanti Dhiraha. So claims and exclaims the Mundaka Upanishad when Mahashala Shaunaka asks, what then is that Paravidya and what is it pointing at? Vidya is something which points at something else. So, what is the object of study for this Paravidya? Then he says, Yattad Adreshyam, that which cannot be seen, in the sense not available to any of the senses, Adreshyam, Agrahyam, which cannot be found by any of the motor organs, and with these two words, the entirety of science has been proved to be useless, because the fundamental axiom of science itself is the study of the world which can be perceived by the sense organs and can be manipulated by the motor organs. So when you say this entity is beyond the sense and the motor organs, there ends science itself. So adreshyam, agrahyam, agotram, which has no lineage, cannot be born, doesn't is not born. Adresham, Agrahyam, Agotram, Avarnam, without any color. Avarnam, Achakshushrothram, which has itself no eyes or ears. Tad Apanipadam, and it itself has no limbs. Therefore, it's not a physical entity. Nityam Vibhum Sarvagatam Susukshmam, that which Vibhu, the omnipresent Lord of all things, Nitya, which is eternal, Sarvagatam, present everywhere, Susukshmam, which is finer than the finest, Sukshmam, Tad Avyayam, that which cannot be destroyed, Avyayam, Yat Bhutayonim, that which is also the cause of all the bhutas. Here, bhuta means the Panchabhutas, the cause of the space, thereby the cause of the universe, cause of all states of matter, with Bhutayonim, Paripashyanti Dhiraha. And the Dhiras, only those who are courageous enough, can truly understand what is being said, Paripashyanti. So she is that Adrishya, Drishya Rahita. She has no eyes or no objects. Vijnatri, she is that supreme uh, comprehender. Like I said, Paripashyanti Dhira. She is the form of those Dhiras who can understand. Vedya Varjita, and she cannot be understood. There is nothing left after knowing her, anything else which remains to be known. Vedya Varjita. Yajnatva sarvamidam vijnatam bhavati. By knowing one single thing, by what knowledge can all the other knowledge become subsidiary, something which is secondary. So there remains nothing else to be known. Yogini, Yogada, Yogya, Yogananda, Yogandhara. She is the Yogini. Yogada, she blesses us with yoga. And here yoga means uh, when you say yoga kshema, right? What is kshema there? Kshema is to preserve, yoga is to acquire. To the acquirement and the preservation. So that is yoga kshema, which means that is what our life has been, right? So we go out into the world, we work a job, We work a 9 to 5, we acquire. And then what do? We go to the bank, we store it, we safeguard it. And in so many ways, we insure our lives, that is kshema. We insure our bodies, lives, and we ensure our stability by building a house, that is kshema. And then we take care of it every day by, sweeping, dusting, mopping, and all of that. So that is our entire word, yoga kshema. Here, Yogada means she who grants us things which we need to acquire. Yogya, that which must be acquired. She is the supreme acquirable object. Yogananda, the ananda which comes through meditation. That she is. Hmm. सुखमात्यन्तिकं यत्तद् बुद्धिग्राह्यमतीन्द्रियं वेत्ति यत्र न चैवायं स्थितश्चरति तत्त्वतः. The sixth chapter, Dhyana Yoga of Bhagavad Gita says, this Ananda Sukham Atyantikam, there is endless, there is unceasing Sukha, and this Sukha is Yattad Buddhigrahyam Atindriyam, that which is not known through the Indriyas, that Sukha which doesn't come through any Indriyas and which can be known only through the buddhi. Here, buddhi doesn't mean the intellect. It is, of course, beyond, I mean, kilometers away from the intellect. It is, buddhi here refers to the awareness. Yattad buddhi grahyam. Only when you are aware, you are in this particular joy. Buddhi grahyam atindriyam. Vetti yatra nachaivayam sthitas chalati tattvataha. And knowing this, he gets established sthitaha and na chalati tattvataha. From this tattva, he will never ever falter. Yugandhara, she holds um, the cycle of time. Yugamdhara. Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Swarupini. There are three Shaktis. What are they? Ichha Shakti means the Shakti, the energy to even desire. It takes some energy to desire. The living energy itself causes desires, be it fundamental desires for survival or desires of ambition, desires of growth, desires for some transcendence, etc. All of these desires are present because there is an energy flowing through us. Jnana Shakti, and then after that desire comes, there is the fulfillment of desire through a Kriya, through a Kriya, and then the experience of both of this. That is called Jnana. So, whatever wisdom we gain from this entire exchange, this entire cycle of first desiring and then doing a kriya to fulfill it, whether it happens or not is a different thing, but there is always an experience of either of it getting fulfilled or of it not. So, these are the three energies uh, which are exchanged on a day-to-day basis. There is an ichcha, then there is jnana, the ichcha, and then to fulfill it is kriya, and then to watch both of this is jnana. Ichcha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Swarupini. And in fact, there are so many significant principles of business and management that one can, of organization structure, which one can derive from this. So there is the Ichcha wing of an organization. There is a goal, there is a vision and a mission, right? So that is the Ichcha. And then there is a Kriya, then there are the strategies of an organization. There are short-term goals, long-term goals, and medium-term goals. And then there is the actual functioning of the organization, the operations, that is the Kriya, where it does sales, then it does marketing, then it does HR, then it must procure from its manufacturers, etc. So all of that is the Kriya. And then there is a Jnana, then there is an analysis, there is an evaluation, then audit of all of this. And then what are the projections and predictions of that cycle for that year, let's say 1 year of ambition and the fulfillment of the attempt to fulfill whatever it has been is analyzed and then projected for the next year, next financial year. This is Ichha, Jnana, and Kriya. Sarvadhara. Uh, by the way, Ichha Shakti is from Ichha Shakti of Lalita came who? Lakshmi. From Jnana Shakti came who? Saraswati. And from Kriya Shakti came who? It was Durga. So these three goddesses came from uh, the many forms of Shakti of Lalita. Sarvadhara, she is the form which bears everything together, which holds everything in place. Sarvadhara, Supratishtha. Just as the sun holds all the planets in its place. It's not that the sun is actually, with its two hands holding each of the planets together. There is an energy within within the sun, which is gravitational energy, which is interacting with all the other objects, the heavenly bodies, and that interaction itself is holding it in balance, which is also the cause of their orbits. Similarly, it is not that Lita must physically come, touch me, hold me in place, handhold, and walk me through life. There is an energy which is getting exchanged between me and her, the Brahma and the Atma, and that exchange is sustaining me. Sarvadhara Supratishtha. She is well established. Supratishtha. Sat Asad Rupa Dharini. Sat Asat. She is of the form which is both Sat and Asat, that which is existence and non existence. She is the void of space, the void of creation, as well as the material of creation. Sad Asad Rupa Dharini. Ashtamurti Aja Jaitri Lokayatra Vidhayini. She is of the Ashtamurti. For what are the Ashtamurtis? So the Ashtamurtis are the five elements, Panchabhutas, the mind, the intellect, and the Purusha, which means the ego. So these are the eight entities together called the Ashtamurti, which is there in any living creature. So there are the five elements which are constituting the body and the mind. Sorry, the body, and then there is the mind called the Chandra. It is metaphorically shown as the Chandra, the symbolically the Chandra, which means the mind which perceives, which accepts the inputs of the sense organs, which is the working part of our manas, which is what we are using to interact and analyze. Then there is the Surya called the Buddhi. There it is the analytical component of our consciousness, that which is making us aware and looking at it from a witness point of view. And then there is the Purusha, the ego, the I-ness, which is around which all of these seven other elements are revolving. Ashtamurti, she is all these eight things. Aja Jaitri. Aja is one who was never born or who does not have birth. Aja, which so birth is just a human idea. So birth happens at so many levels. It's not just when a baby is born that we call it as birth. More philosophically speaking, this when I press a character on the keyboard into a text box, that is also the birth, but of the character of a letter in that dialog box. So there is birth at that level, and then there is a birth every moment in my body, because some cells are dying, some cells are getting created in the bone marrow, and then there is the birth of new substances within the body. So many chemicals are getting created, and other times they are getting destroyed. So every single change is a birth. It's a ja. It is a change. So aja is that which has no change at all, which is nityam, nityam vibhum. Aja Jaitri. She is victory of battles. Jaitri. Lokayatra Vidhayini. She uh, performs, not performs, but she engages people to do a yatra, Loka Yatra. She is the one who first uh, started this tradition of pilgrimages, Loka Yatra Vidhayini. And how is that? So it is said the very first pilgrimage which anybody undertook was Shiva himself. When Parvati said, I'm sick of Kailasa. This is a dry, barren, cold desert. I will no longer stay with you. I mean, I was born though to a mountain king. I lived in a palace. So she says, no, no, I nothing doing. Let us make a home in the valleys. Shiva says, no, no, I cannot. I don't want any house. I don't want any attachment. I want to sit in serenity and contemplate on Om. So please leave me be. Then she says, no, 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 how can it be so? See, I have fulfilled uh, your requests by being with you for so many millions of years. Now it is time that you should also reciprocate. He says, okay, I'll think about this, but mm, Parvati is very adamant. She says, no, you keep thinking, I will go and sit in the Himalaya, in the valleys. So she walks down from the Kailasa and she comes to a city. I mean, she comes to a place, and because of her aura, the entire civilization becomes rich mm, in agriculture, in business, in economy itself gets boomed up, and it becomes a city, a place of dwelling for residents of what is today Kashi. And so she starts doing her business of as a mother. I mean, the most lovable thing most mothers do is to cook, and it is not, I mean, unless it is forced upon her by the in-laws or whatever. Usually the feminine trait is to be creative, be it not just in the kitchen, but some creative activity the feminine energy likes to engage with. That itself is also why we say it is more dominant in women, because women also have this creative, literally the creative energy to create a child. So she started cooking and serving whoever came to her. She took on the form of Annapurna. And then Shiva was worried. What shall I do now? I mean, I'm missing her. Though I'm a yogi, she and I have now become inseparable. We have merged into both each other's bodies, and physically now she's apart, which is clawing at my heart. So this aching pain, how do I relieve myself of it? And he goes on asking all the devatas, how can it be so? Then they all have no answer to say. Finally, he, surrenders his ego and he says, okay, though I am a yogi, it's now time that I listen to my wife. And so he walks down himself from Kailasa to Kashi and becomes Vishwanatha there. And after some time, she says, now just as you took the pilgrimage all around the world, asking all the devatas, and then came finally to Kashi, may it be the custom from today onwards that people will go to all the temples and finally end up in Annapurna, realizing the importance of Jagannatha. That is the story of the first pilgrimage, Loka Yatra Vidhayini. It's also a very metaphorical story because one is, of course, socially we can understand it as a dynamic between the partners, between spouses, and then secondly, the exchange of masculine and feminine energies. And third is how the soul, uh, when it leaves, so if you think of Shiva as the soul, as Atma, and she as the Brahman, when Brahman is angry, kind of upset and separates, the soul is left alone. It is left wondering how it can fulfill its void, and it goes through all the loka, it goes through all the material things, material, metaphysical, spiritual, all the things of the world which it can offer, goes through all of that yatra, and finally after being shanta, after absolutely having gone through all possibilities of life, by taking so many births even through different bodies at the same time. No, it's not just that at this particular time there is some small flame sitting inside me, which cannot be sitting inside any other person. It is not a cartoon. It's a very simplistic idea that Atma is some kind of a half-cut flame of a candle which is sitting inside me, and after I die, that candle either extinguishes or it goes into something else. It doesn't go in the sky. So it's a Atma is a concept, at least philosophically speaking, where it is experiencing all the possibilities of life simultaneously in many bodies and uh, at different times. So it is beyond space and time, beyond our logical mind. So it goes through and tries all of those possibilities, and finally it realizes the only way it can fulfill its own um, loneliness is through being alone with Brahman. So it comes and merges with the Brahman, Brahmatmaikya Swarupini, that is Kaivalya. And then Ekakini, she is alone. Ekakini, she is a very powerful woman. She is alone. Ekakini, Bhuma Rupa, and she is the form of the vastness. Bhuma means vast. Nirdvaita Dvaitanashini, and she is without a second. She is without Dvaita here. So it comes from the word Dvi. Dvi means two. Just as we said Treta, Dvaita, and Chatushtaya, and so on. So these words are signifying plurality. So Dvaita here refers to the state of being in two things, of existence and the opposite effect of it, that is non-existence. And then happiness, sorrow, body, mind, the masculine, feminine, the spirit, the material, and so on. This is the exchange of the two forces, energy, entropy. When they are in harmony, both of them merge into each other. That is what they say, and it becomes a state of homogeneity, which is called Nirdvaita, the state of not being in two, which is also called as Advaita. Nirdvaita and Dvaita Varjita. Dvaita Varjita, she in her true aspect has no dualities in her. Dvaita Varjita, she is singular. Ekakini, Dvaita Varjita. Annada Vasudha Vriddha Brahmatmaikya Swarupini. She is of the form of Brahma and Atma Aikya, the oneness of the cosmic self with the individual self. That is entirely what the Advaita tradition speaks about, the oneness between the cosmic entity, which is called Brahman, and the individualized soul, which is called Atma. Annada Vasudha Vriddha. She gives Anna, like I said, Annapurna, Vasudha. She gives gifts and wealth like Lakshmi. And Vriddha, she is very old in both terms of actual physical years because she was born before even the universe began. So she is 14 billion years old, at least, that we know of. And she is Vriddha in the sense of Jnana also, very matured. Brihati, Brahmani, Brahmi, Brahmananda, Bali Priya. She loves Bali, which is why in most very old temples of Devi, of Shakti, the custom of Bali is still there, where actual either animals or animal meat equivalents like watermelon or kushmar, ashgar, something which is cut. So that is Bali Priya. Brihati, she is a very in the state of expansion. Brahmani, the wife of Brahma and of Brahmanas. Here, Brahmana is not the Varna, the Jati, it is actually the Varna. So, which means she is the energy backing people who are desirous of spirituality. So, though they were called the Brahmanas by Varna and by Guna. And she is that force behind them, which is supporting and encouraging them. Brahmani, Brahmi is the wife of Brahma, Saraswati. Brahmananda, she is completely a tank, a huge, enormous, cosmic tank which has Ananda in it, which will never run out of this Ananda. Brahmananda. Bali Priya. Bhasha Rupa Brihatsena Bhava Bhava Vivarjita Sukharadhya Shubhakari Shobhana Sulabha Gatihi. She is the form of speech, Bhasha Brihatsena. She has the Shakti Sena, enormous Sena. In fact, uh, it makes the Sainya of the Kurus and the Pandavas a dwarf before the actual Sena that she holds, which is something close to some 10,000 Akshauhinis. Brihat Sena Bhava Bhava Vivarjita. There are no bhavas or abhavas. There are no existence. There is no manifestation or unmanifested forms of unmanifested energies in her bhava vivarjita. She is not subject to the forces of either manifestation or of dissolution. Bhava vivarjita. Sukharadhya. She is worshipped, very interestingly, only through sukha. And here, so let's look at this very carefully. Sukharadhya, there are two meanings. One is the more religious meaning, which says you should worship Sri Vidya or Lalita in a state of happiness. You should never approach her. I mean, in this form of Lalita, you should never approach her when one is depressed or in Vishada or suffering or in a state of either disbelief or agony. One should not approach her. She should only be worshipped when one is happy. Sukharadhya. You should do it as an extension of one's happiness, is what this word means. It is also backed up by many tantric sayings which support the same claim that she doesn't like weepy people. She doesn't like very whiny children. She is a very strict mother. Of course, she'll care for her whining children, the crying babies, but she is also more inclined to sit with the happy-go-lucky child. Sukharadhya. The other meaning is, God is known to us in uh, both very crude ways as well as subtle ways. And how is he known through crude ways? So Lalita here is of the form of what? Brahmananda, right? And it is like I said, there are so many levels, hierarchies of this Brahmananda. Let's say 1/10,000th or some 1 billionth% of her actual Ananda is known to us, and that is through what we experience in our day-to-day life as happiness, or what we call pleasure, or as comfort, as stability, as security, as love, as compassion. All of such good things, the goodness of life is sukha. Sukha, kha means space, sukha means a good space, a good ambience either of the mind, a good state of being of the body or of the surroundings, something which is good. That is sukha. So we, Aradhya here means we know her, we worship her indirectly by engaging our efforts and our body and mind in finding pleasures, though it is uh, a misplaced search, but still we are looking very deep down for that one everlasting spark or taste of such ananda. So she is, in that sense, worshipped by Sukha. Shubhakari, she does good. Shobhana, beautiful. Sulabha, uh, in fact, it's contradictory, but though she is Bhavana Agamya, it is also said she is Sulabha. She can be just found like this in a moment's time. And I think I've told this story of how Sharda Mata of the spouse of Sri Ramakrishna, when she was asked by her devotees, how long will it take for me to get moksha? She says, if you are nirvasana this very moment, you will find her. So, Sulabha is in that sense. Gati hi, she is the destination and she is also the process. She is the Gati, very interestingly in Sanskrita has both meanings. It is the actual process of movement, Gati, as well as the destination is called Gati. So you say Ananya Gatikata means having no other place to go, no other destination, right? So Gati means a destination as well as the process, the journey. She is both Raja Rajeshwari, Empress of all the worshipped by all the emperors themselves. Rajyadayini, she gives kingdoms, land. One very clear example from history is of Shivaji getting it from Bhavani. And also one other older Puranic reference is of a king called Suratha, who became destitute because he was chased away from his kingdom by betrayal from his own ministers. Then he comes this, and this story is elaborated and narrated in the Durga Saptashati, where he is uh, eviscerated, almost eviscerated from even the worldly plane, and therefore he somehow escapes such schemes against him, and he retires into a forest to find answers, first to his mind and secondly to his actual kingdom. And then the story goes on to say how he approached the rishi called Sumedhas or Medha, and he was advised to do a sadhana of Lalita, of Durga, and he did so a great, I think, 3 4 years of penance he did, and following which Durga came before him as Pratyaksha, and when she asks, "What do you want?" he says, "I want my Rajyam, Nijam Rajyam. I want my own kingdom back." And she says, "Okay, you have your kingdom, and because I am very pleased with you, with your austerity, I shall grant you a kingdom, the dominion, not just over your little kingdom, but over the entire earth. And thus you shall be exalted to the state of being a Manu in the coming Manvantara." And that is how he becomes, or he's yet to become the Savaranika Manu, which is the Manvantara which will come after this gets over, Vaivasvata Manvantara, and then after that another, and then there is the Savarnika Manvantara. So she grants any Rajya to her devotees. Rajya Vallabha. So any person who is struggling with land disputes and so on, they are usually advised to go to Raja Rajeshwari. Rajya Vallabha. Rajya Vallabha is she is the wife or the partner to. Now it's not just a wife. Vallabha means also a partner. A partner to a kingdom. So what does that mean? Raja Vallabha, therefore, is a mm, nama signifying how the kingdom cannot sustain on itself. It requires a counterpart. What counterpart? That counterpart is the feminine energy present in the kingdom, which actually keeps it running. So it is not just a piece of land, in that sense, which is why Duryodhana also gave, he sanctioned the Pandavas uh, some desert, a part of a desert as their kingdom. And then Krishna prayed to Maya, and then he brought in, he turned it into Kandava Prastha into an Indraprastha, a beautiful city. How? That partnering with the feminine energy of bringing beauty, aesthetics, of bringing economy, of agriculture, of cultivation, of both culture and crops, all of this will help prosper the kingdom. So she is that partner, the metaphysical partner to the kingdom, infusing it with her feminine energy, Rajya Vallabha. Rajat Kripa, her compassion is glowing. Rajat, it is royal. Her royal compassion is sporting into, it's bleeding into the world. Rajat Kripa. Rajapitha Niveshita Nijashrita, and she is Ashrita, she is accepted as a haven. She's sought out as a haven by people who are sitting or enthroned on on the into the responsibility and entrusted with the responsibility of Rajapitha. What does it mean? It means of people who are shouldering great many responsibilities, she becomes a source of solace, of compassion, of retreat for all of us. Rajapitha Niveshita Nijashita. In fact, it need not be just the bureaucrats or the prime ministers, ministers in the literal sense. Even in our own life, when we are to shoulder great responsibilities, be it of family, of work, mm, or if we are actively involved in a mission, then the responsibilities of the mission, etc. In such cases, we are the Rajas in our own lives, are we not? We are the center, we are the source of command, issuing commands for at least in our own little domain. So when we are sitting at that seat of a Raja, and when we are thus enthroned and when responsibilities have come upon us, then we must take the ashraya of the mother goddess to as the because she is the Raja Mata, so she will give us good counsel and guide us in the right direction. Rajya Lakshmi, once again, just as she is Rajya Vallabha, the feminine energy of the Rajya, she is also the actual treasure, the physical treasure and wealth of the Rajya. Koshanatha, and thus she is also the guardian and the owner, actual owner of all the treasures, the treasuries. Chaturanga Baleshwari, and whatever security is needed for guarding a particular kingdom, called the Chaturanga Bala. Bala here means the Sainya. Chaturanga Bala, she rules them, she commands them. Samrajya Dayini, and then now just not just Rajya, now Samrajya. Just as she, when the Raja asked for a Rajya, she gave that also and an entire Samrajya, like a greater dominion. Samrajya Dayini, and then Satyasandha, she likes to negotiate. Sandha means a negotiation with values of truth and principles. Satyasandha, she is not a person who will sit at the table speaking one thing above the table and with her hands stretched under the table. It is not so. It is Satyasandha. There is a negotiation, but with principles. Satyasandha. Sagara Mekhala. Her Mekhala means the waist band, not wristband. It's the waist band is Mekhala. That is the entire Sagara itself, the entire oceans, if they were to be arranged as droplets as the gems for her waistband, that would be Sagara Mekhala. Dikshita Daitya Shamani Sarvaloka Vashankari. She is given Diksha. Diksha means an initiation. Dikshita means one who is initiated. She herself was initiated by Shiva, by Parashiva, through so many, uh, into so many mantras. So she was in some way the first lab rat for testing the efficacy of the mantras. And at other times, she made Shiva himself the lab rat, the guinea pig for testing all uh, phenomenon, the laws of the world on him. So there was a mutual sacrifice on both ends. Dikshita Daitya Shamani, she is the destroyer of foes, of enemies, of daityas, of the evil. Sarvaloka Vashankari, brought into her own reign the entire lokas. Sarvartha Datri, gives all wealth. Savitri, she is the residing force, the latent force in the sun. Whatever causes it to shine is that energy which is in today's modern science we have understood what grants the sun its energy is nuclear fusion, where atoms of hydrogen fuse together to create some energy. So we can understand this better by incorporating modern science as well, where we are saying Savitri, and quite literally, Savitri means one which creates. Prasute iti prasuhu. That which gives birth is called prasu, a mother. And sute iti savitri. That which creates not just as a child, but anything which gets created is called created by this person is called, she is called Savitri, and its fusion means bringing of things together to create a bigger entity. Very like two cells coming together to form a zygote. So that is also what happens within the sun. Savitri, Satchidananda Rupini. Again, this has been already explained, a form of Sat Chit and Ananda. Deshakala Parichinna, unbound, uncut by the space and time. Like I said, even the very idea of an Atma is unrestricted by space and time, which means at multiple places the same Atma can exist, and at in different timelines the same Atma can have existed, will have existed. Um, so she, while the Atma itself is, it is Deshakala Aparichinna, she being Brahman itself is also Deshakala Aparichinna, Sarvaga Sarva Mohini. She is everywhere and she charms everybody uh, through Maya. She charms everybody and to cause all of us, the creatures and the elements themselves, to be going in circles, to be like a, no, what is that called? Mm, the sheep circle. If you have like, I don't know if it is sheep or goats, but one of them. So the shepherd comes and there is a certain mechanism to drive a machine, and so he comes holding a carrot or something, and then he goes around that machine, that spinning object, one in one round, causing the leader of that sheep to also follow him. And once the entire horde of sheep, the cattle, they form a circle, they are now set in perpetual motion. They just keep seeing the next person in front of them going in a circle. So, what we call as the rat race, right? So, it is verily the same thing where a chakra, the samsara chakra, is set in motion for once, and then it is a self perpetual moving machine. It keeps itself sustained. That's why she doesn't also like, though she likes the rishis and yoginis in a different sense, but she doesn't, as Maya, she doesn't like us to get enlightened. So she entices us, moha, she charms us with some titillations here and there, with some pleasures of life, thus keeping us happy and satisfied and fulfilled. At least we are hallucinating that we have been fulfilled, but we still keep such delusions to ourselves and remain in samsara. She likes that. Sarva Mohini, Saraswati, but on the other hand, she also, when she takes the form of Saraswati, gives wisdom and says, "No, no, you are being fooled. Please escape this vritta. Please escape this samsara." Shastramayi, all scriptures put together constitute her knowledge body. Guhamba, the mother of Guha, which is Kartikeya. Guhya Rupini, she is Guhya. She is that which is not told, that which is not spoken. Sarvopadhi Vinirmukta Sadashiva Pativrata. She is the Pativrata, the chaste wife of Sadashiva. And why is being chaste a very great thing? Because here it's not just about not engaging with sexual relations with others. I mean, infidelity is not even a concept when we are talking of such great forces. Because, what is infidelity even? When you don't even have any organs of reproduction. So, Sadashiva Pativrata is where the energy, which is the um, complementary energy of Sadashiva, which is Lalita, is ever in seeking the masculine energy, which is Sadashiva. It does not seek anything else. So that is the basic implication of this word Pativrata. And at the same time, even the masculine energy is seeking the feminine energy. It cannot seek anything else. So in that sense, you can say Sadashiva is also a Patni Vrata. Anyhow, so they are mutually seeking only the other. They are not, there is no other energy even to even be sought. However, they are said to be the ideal couple because there is no infidelity between them. Sarvopadhi vinirmukta. She is free, absolutely free from sarva upadhi, from all attachments, all inclusions, all additional supplements. Uh, when you're booking a ticket for a flight, you see all these add-ons, breakfast, and then luggage, extra weight, extra concession for luggage, then 20 more kgs of extra luggage you can carry, and then there is also porter and so on. So all these add-ons, if you just keep going and getting charmed by all of them, the bill will actually go twice or thrice the value of the ticket. So that these are the upadhis while booking a ticket. So she is the Sarava Upadhi Vinir Mukta. She has absolutely no add-ons. She is clear with what she wants, and which is nothing, and no other add-ons to it. Sampradayeshwari, the queen of all sampradayas, all methods of worship. She knows, she is approached by the same. Sadhvi, she is a sadhvi, means a female yogini is called sadhvi. Guru Mandala Rupini, the planet Jupiter, Guru. Mandala means the heavenly body. Like you saw Chandra Mandala Madhyaga, Surya Mandala Madhyastha, and then here it is Guru Mandala Rupini. She is the form of Jupiter as a source of guidance, because Guru in astrology is also the uh, the benefic planet, which is always as a guardian, as a teacher to us, though he may punish us, but within the class, he will always support us outside the class. So, similarly, he may teach us hard lessons, but in limited surroundings, in limited circles, but in other aspects of life, he will always be backing us. She is like that. Guru Mandala Rupini. Okay, let's stop here. We have been going on and on for about an hour. I hope none of you are gone into sushupti or swapna states. Any insights, inputs that you wish to give? Any add-ons that you would like, please do share. Does anybody have any inputs? Please don't be shy. The floor is yours. Astu. So we shall meet tomorrow once again. We'll start from 140. Sorry, 139. Astu. Namaste.
Sir, you have shared that Pancha, that 50 Bijakshara. I was not able to download that. So I don't know. Is there?
I think you should, if you have mailed, if you just put a mail to that through that document, I will check the mail and I will allow access.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah.
Okay, then I will look at the mail and allow access.
Oh, thank you.
धन्यवाद. अस्तु, धन्यवादाः. नमस्ते.